Hi there, welcome to another edition of the Global Economic Outlook. My name is Philip, and as usual, I'll take you through one major event in the global economy. It's in the news that Nigeria's GDP growth report has been released by the National Bureau of Statistics for the second quarter of 2021. And it shows that for the third consecutive quarter, Nigeria's GDP grew um, this time by 5.01%. And if we take a look at how the breakdown of what led to the growth of the economy, we see that the non-oil sector was the major driver. And so we've titled this edition Nigeria's GDP growth of 5.01% highlights the importance of the non-oil sector. Like I said earlier, the economy grew for the third time in third consecutive quarter. The recovery from recession last year started at the last quarter of 2020 with a growth of 0.11%. Then it was followed by a growth of 0.51% in the first quarter of this year. Um, of course, we all know what the GDP is the universal measure of economic growth, and Investopedia describes it as a broad measure of overall domestic production. It functions as a comprehensive scorecard of a given country's economic health. So when we look at the what the major driver is, like I said earlier, the non-oil sector accounted for 92.58% of the total GDP, with only 7.42% from the oil sector. In fact, it was the non-oil sector which grew in the second quarter by 6.74%. The oil sector actually was a drag on performance that is contracted by 12.65 percent. So when you look at further down the non-oil sector, the services subsector was the key driver because when it comes to its contribution to overall economic growth, it stands at 55.66%, while agriculture with 23.78% and industries with 20.57% make up the rest, in terms of the drivers of economic growth. Of course, the services sector includes the finance industry, the insurance industry, the real estate industry, the ICT, telecom, trade, and several others. So it's no fluke, or it's not a surprise that it is the major driver, because of course we can see how well the banks and many of the financial institutions are performing. But one question that must probably be on your mind is that what does this really mean for the average Nigerian? What does it mean that the economy has grown by 5.01%? The truth is, not much has changed, because you recall that in 2020, the Nigerian economy actually went into a recession. In fact, in the second quarter of 2020, the growth rate was negative 6.10%. And then it was followed in the third quarter by 3.62% contraction. So what this means is that even though there has been three consecutive quarters of growth, it's still not enough to cover up for the decline experienced in the economic growth last year. So it generates some optimism, but Nigerians are still not, um, we are not at the level we should be yet, which means that the growth, is just more or less like a recovery. And the truth is that even the pre-pandemic level of economic growth was not good enough for Nigerians. Many, have still not been able to live at the level they should live at, and economic conditions were not also good pre-pandemic. So now it's just a recovery from the worst state that was created by the pandemic, and really it doesn't mean much for Nigeria. But if the momentum can be sustained, probably in the coming months, there will also be um, other things to be happy about. But one thing that the report clearly shows is that the non-oil sector is critical to the Nigerian economy, and the government must continue to do all it can to diversify the economy away from oil. Again, the volatility in the oil sector has always been a concern and has put Nigeria in a difficult state for so long. But with the non-oil sector, if Nigeria can promote it, it has the capacity not only to drive economic growth, but also to solve many of Nigeria's lingering crises, including the foreign exchange crisis. Imagine if the agriculture and manufacturing sectors develop to a point where they can cater for local needs. That will reduce the need for people to even access the foreign exchange market. Again, if these sectors are able to export what they produce, if Nigeria is able to attain some self-sufficiency, then it means that there will also be an improvement in Nigeria's balance of payments, because the exports of these goods will bring about foreign exchange revenue to Nigeria, which has been a major concern and been the major reason why the foreign exchange has continued to suffer. So, given the impact of the non-oil sector, it is expected that it will get the attention it needs to flourish, because that is just what it should be. We know in the past it hasn't, even though it's been the obvious course of action for government and for everyone to pursue, it hasn't always been prioritized. But hopefully, with these reports and with what we can see clearly, the non-oil sector will receive more attention, and it will help Nigeria's economy in the long run. So that's it on the global economic outlook for this week. Remember to click the subscribe button so that you can, be get regular updates on happenings in the global economy. See you next time.